Commander Zix Thara of the Hegemony Fleet adjusted his mandibles in what passed for amusement among the Krell. The tactical display showed the pathetic human fleet, barely 300 vessels, arranged in what their species laughably called a defensive formation around their home system. "Patch me through to their command ship," he clicked to his communications officer. The bridge of the inevitable conquest hummed with the confidence of a species that had never known defeat. For 8 centuries, the Krell hegemony had swept across the galaxy, subjugating primitive worlds with the casual efficiency of a farmer harvesting grain. The human admiral appeared on the view screen, a diminutive biped with pale skin and those ridiculous tiny eyes. Admiral Chen Wei, according to the intelligence reports. Her voice carried across the void with what the Krell had learned to recognize as typical human stubbornness. "Commander Zix Thara, you are in violation of the Terran defense perimeter. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." The bridge erupted in chittering laughter. Consequences? From a species that had barely achieved faster than light travel 50 years ago. Zix Thara had conquered civilizations 10 times more advanced. "Admiral Chen," he replied, savoring the moment, "your species amuses us. We offer you the standard terms: complete surrender, relocation of your population to designated worlds, and integration into the hegemony as a labor caste. You have 1 standard hour." "Counteroffer," Chen said, her expression unchanging. "You have 30 minutes to leave this system, or we will demonstrate why humanity has never been conquered." The transmission cut. Around the bridge, Krell officers exchanged glances of disbelief. Never been conquered? These humans had been fighting among themselves until mere decades ago. Their most advanced weapons were crude fusion devices that couldn't penetrate hegemony shields. Zix Thara studied the tactical display. The human fleet was moving into what appeared to be a standard defensive sphere, their largest vessels primitive dreadnoughts, barely half the size of a Krell cruiser, forming the outer shell. Behind them, smaller ships clustered around what seemed to be cargo vessels and civilian transports. "Sir," reported his tactical officer, "their energy signatures are. Some of those cargo ships are emitting readings I don't recognize. Probably some desperate attempt at technological improvisation," Zix Thara dismissed. "Humans are known for their chaotic creativity when cornered. Begin the attack." The hegemony fleet advanced, 1,200 ships of the line supported by twice as many fighters and support craft. Their plasma cannons charged with the familiar whine that had been the death knell of countless worlds. That's when the humans did something unprecedented. They opened fire first, but not with energy weapons or kinetic projectiles. Instead, the space around the hegemony fleet suddenly filled with what appeared to be metallic snow, billions of tiny objects, each no larger than a grain of rice, spreading in an expanding sphere at a significant fraction of light speed. Evasive maneuvers. Zix Thara ordered, but the cloud was too vast, too fast. The first impacts were barely noticeable tiny pings against the hull plating. Then the Krell sensors began registering something impossible. Each microscopic projectile was multiplying upon impact, somehow converting the ship's own matter into more of itself. "Sir, hull breaches on decks 7 through 15, his damage control officer reported, panic creeping into his voice. "The hull is dissolving, sir. Whatever those particles are, they're breaking down our molecular bonds and replicating." Zix Thara watched in horror as his mighty dreadnought began to come apart at the atomic level. Across the fleet, the same scene was playing out. Ships that had conquered star systems were being devoured by what looked like cosmic dust. "How?" he whispered. Admiral Chen's voice crackled over the emergency frequencies, broadcast to every surviving hegemony vessel. "Nanotechnology, Commander. Self-replicating molecular disassemblers with quantum encrypted command protocols. We've had them for 15 years, But this is their first field test. The human fleet hadn't moved from their defensive positions. They didn't need to. Of the 1,200 ships that had begun the assault, fewer than 300 remained functional, and those were in full retreat. But the humans weren't finished. Phase 2, Admiral Chen announced calmly. The cargo ships that had seemed so insignificant opened like flowers, revealing structures that defied Krell understanding. Massive rings began to spin, generating gravitic distortions that warped space itself. The fleeing hegemony ships found themselves caught in artificial gravity wells that compressed their hulls like tin cans. Gravitational manipulation. Chen continued her narration as if conducting a lecture. We learned it from studying your own technology, then improved upon it. Those rings can generate localized black holes, or, if we prefer, simply stop time in a small region of space. Several Krell ships simply froze mid-flight, caught in temporal distortion fields that would keep them suspended for millennia. Zix Thara's own vessel was dying around him. The nanomachines had reached the bridge, and he could see his officers literally dissolving as their organic matter was converted into more of the microscopic weapons. His last act was to send a priority transmission to the hegemony core worlds. "This is Commander Zix Thara," he rasped into the communicator as his exoskeleton began to itch and burn. The humans, they were never primitive. They were hiding. They've weaponized matter itself. Send no more fleets. Negotiate. Whatever they want, give it to them. The galaxy has a new apex predator, and we are all prey now. The transmission ended as the bridge finally succumbed to the molecular storm. Admiral Chen watched the tactical display as the last hegemony vessel either disintegrated or fled beyond sensor range. Around her, the bridge crew maintained professional composure, but she could sense their mixture of pride and horror at what they had unleashed. "Admiral," her science officer reported quietly, "the nanomachines are self-terminating as programmed. Complete dissolution in 17 minutes." Chen nodded. The weapons had been designed to ensure total victory without leaving dangerous remnants that could threaten Earth itself. Everything had worked exactly as the simulations predicted. She opened a channel to Earth Command. "This is Admiral Chen. Operation Revelation is complete. The masquerade is over. I believe we can expect some very interesting diplomatic overtures in the coming weeks." Throughout the galaxy, species that had viewed humanity as an insignificant newcomer received the same transmission that Zix Thara had sent. The message spread like wildfire through the galactic communication networks. Humanity had been hiding its true capabilities for decades, allowing other species to underestimate them, while they quietly developed weapons that made conventional warfare obsolete. They had studied their enemies, learned their weaknesses, and prepared for the day when pretense would no longer serve. That day had come, and the galaxy would never be the same. Within hours, ambassadors from dozens of species were requesting emergency meetings with human representatives. Trade offers poured in. Territorial disputes that had simmered for years were suddenly resolved in humanity's favor. And on Earth, in a secure bunker beneath the Pacific Ocean, the architects of this revelation allowed themselves a moment of satisfaction. Phase 1 of the long game was complete. The galaxy had finally learned not to laugh at humanity. They would not make that mistake again.